today. So on your paper, you kind of have one of the rules for exponential functions. What does the A stand for? Starting value. What's the other word for starting value? Y-intercept. Write that down on your paper, please. Y-intercept is the other word for starting value. Why is A the starting value and not B? Because B has an X. So the starting value is the one without the X, okay? And right here, we kind of talked about this a little bit the other day. In this spot, sometimes we'll put 1 plus R, and sometimes we'll put 1 minus R. So how about putting parentheses around that? Sometimes we'll put 1 plus R, sometimes we'll put 1 minus R. What does R stand for? Rate, okay? R stands for rate. And let's put, on your paper, let's put linear underneath it. And Ethan H., what's one thing you can tell me about linear? It's a straight line. Anybody else? Anything else you know about linear? Okay, so it could also do this. So this one's positive, this one's negative. What's the formula for linear? Good. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, and then there's one more word I'm looking for that goes with linear. Anybody? One more word that goes with linear. What? Good. Thank you. Constant. So linear is a constant rate. Okay, can anybody tell me something that I should add to the exponential stuff? There's 2 things that are important about exponential that aren't up there. Very good, Jesse. It's a curve, so draw that on your paper. It's a curve. This one if it's positive, and this one if it is negative, okay? And somebody who hasn't answered yet, what's one other thing about exponential? Very good. Thank you, Chad. It's a percent. Okay? All right. So I know that there's a lot of stuff on the board right now, but you actually know more than you think about it. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 says you made $3,000 last summer mowing lawns in your neighborhood. And this is a typo. It should say you made $3,000 last summer mowing lawns in your neighborhood, and you invested it at 6%. So I need to fix that. Okay, so here's the first decision you have to make about the word problem. Is it linear or is it exponential? Which one is this one, linear or exponential? Why is it exponential? Because it has a percent. So now we're going to write down the exponential formula. Y equals A parentheses 1. And we have to decide if we should put a plus sign or a minus sign. Y plus. When you invest money, in this case it's going up, so 1 plus R to the X. Okay, so this is the formula we're going to use. So write that down, please. Write that formula down. Okay? All right, now we're going to put the numbers in where they go. Okay? So Y equals, what do you think I'm going to put in the A spot? 3,000. And then I'm going to put a parentheses, and then a 1, and then a plus. So the 3,000 went in the A spot, and then I put a 1 and a plus. Okay, before we put in the R spot, what number's going in the R? Okay, so 6% good, and Jesse already said it. So when you have a percent, since there's two circles right here, you need to move your decimal how many times? 2. So here's my imaginary decimal, and I move it 2 times, and you have to put a 0 in the empty spot. So it's 0.06 to the x. Okay. All right, and then I need you to do one more step. So you're going to write y equals again. You're going to drop down the 3,000. And some of you can do this in your head. Some of you need to do it in the calculator. What is 1 plus 0.06? Okay, so this is the answer that I want. This is the answer that I want. Other one. You bought a car for $20,000. It depreciates 9% each year. Okay, question 1. Is it linear or exponential? Why is it exponential? Because it has a percent. So now I'm going to write the exponential formula. Y equals A parentheses 1. You have to make a decision. Is it plus or minus? Why is it minus? Depreciates means it goes down. Circle that word. Circle that word and put a minus with it. Depreciates means down. Put a minus. Haley, how do I write 9%? Very good. And then your x goes up high. Your x goes up high. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. I got ahead of myself. What should be right here for now? Just an R. Just an R for now. Okay, sorry. Now we'll put in the numbers. So y equals, let me use my popsicle sticks. Gracie, what's going to go in for the A spot? Very good. Then I'm going to put 1 minus, and Haley already told us that R was 0.09 to the X. All right, and your last step is to put Y equals, drop down your 20,000, and you need to type that in your calculator. Dylan, what is 1 minus 0.09? To the x. So that's your answer. That's the function rule. Okay. All right, does anybody have a question on those two? Okay. Number 3, you bought a rare baseball card for $7,500. It appreciates 4% in value each year. Zaria, is it linear or exponential? If it has a percent. Exponential. Percent's exponential. So it's going to be y equals A parentheses 1. Dylan, is it 1 plus or 1 minus? Yep, what word tells you plus? Appreciates means it goes up. That one's a plus. Okay? All right. Y equals, Haley, now we're going to put in the numbers. Haley, what goes in for A? 100. Parentheses 1 plus. Ethan H, what do I put in for the R? And Monica, what would my final answer be? Y equals what? To the x power. So that's my final answer. Number 4, you invested $5,500 in the stock market. You lost 12% each year. Chad, linear or exponential? Why? Jesse, is it going to be 1 plus R or 1 minus R? Jesse, why is it minus? Andrea, what goes in for A? 1 minus Daniel, how do you do 12%? 0.12, good. This one doesn't have a 0, guys, because look, when I move it 2 places, is there an empty spot? Is there an empty spot right here? No, so it's just 0.12 to the x, okay? And Chuck, what will be my final answer? Uh-huh. .88 to the x. 1 minus 0.12. So it's like having a dollar and taking away 12 cents gives you 88 cents. Okay. Number 5, Roll Hall has 57,000 citizens. The population is increasing exponentially by 3.5% each year. Ethan G, linear exponential. Y equals A. Ethan G, 1 plus or 1 minus? What word told you plus? Increasing told me it was plus. Dylan, what goes in for A? Good. 1 plus. All right, Gracie, give it a shot. What goes in for R? What do I have to do with this? So what am I going to put? Very good. 0.0 what? And then the 5, so all of it. Very good. 0.035. And Haley, what's my final answer? Y equals? .035 to the x. Okay. This next one, Mrs. Williams bought a house for $50,000 and it doubles in value each year. It doubles in value. Guys, what do you think about doubling? Is that linear or exponential? Exponential, okay? Because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? So doubles is exponential. Okay, here's where this one's going to be a little different. Let's go ahead and jump to the y equals. What would come right after the y equals part? Good. Why does 50,000 go first? It's your A. It's your starting value. Now, here's where you're going to have to think for a minute. You're going to have to think. What do parentheses mean? Multiply. If we are doubling, what are we multiplying by? 2. We're multiplying by 2. The only thing you put in the parentheses on this one is a 2. Why do you think the only thing I put in the parentheses is a 2? Because doubling means to times by 2, and that's all you have to do. Okay? Number 7, the initial. This word initial always means your starting value, always. Whenever you see that word, it's your starting value. The initial population of 50,000 fell by half each year as people moved out of the city. Okay? So, if things are going by half, do we think that's linear or exponential? Still exponential. So, I'm going to have y equals. Zaria, what number comes after my y equals? What's my starting value? So I put 50,000. What do parentheses mean I'm doing? Multiply. What do you think I'm going to multiply by on this one? A half. How do you write a half? 1 over 2, or you could write what? 0.5. Okay, either one. Let's do 1 over 2. Where does the x go? Up high. It goes in the exponent spot. Okay? Okay. Let's go back real quick to number 1, now that you've kind of got the hang of it. And we're also going to write a now next rule. So it's next equals now. This is what it always starts with. That's just what they started as. Next equals now. So write this down, please. On number 1. Next equals now. And then what were we doing here? We were taking the 3,000. And what does this mean we were doing? Multiplying by 1.06. So that's all you're going to put here. Times 1.06. That's all you have to do for a now next rule. Next equals now times 1.06. Okay? So for number 2, it's going to start out the same way. Next equals now. So number 2, next equals now. Jesse, what are we multiplying by on number 2? Very good. We're multiplying by 0.91. Whatever's in the parentheses is what we're multiplying by, 0.91. That's all the now next rule is going to look like. So don't make it harder than it is. So if you had a multiple choice question, that's the one you would choose. Okay? Number 3, next equals now. That's how they always start. Next equals now. Monica, what are we multiplying by on number 3? Very good. 1.04. Okay? Okay, number 4. Next equals now. Chuck, what are we multiplying by on this one? Very good. 0.88. Okay. And number 5, next equals now. Ethan H, what are we multiplying by on number 5? Good, 1.035. And Chad, number 6, what's the whole rule? What would I write? What word comes first? Times what? Very good. Times 2. Okay, good job, Chad. All right, and Daniel, you do number 7. What would the rule look like, the now next rule? Next equals now times 1/2. Times 1/2. Okay, any questions on the front side? Okay, we'll flip it over to the back. All right, this one, you have to describe the starting value and whether it's increasing or decreasing and by what. So this one we're working backwards. This time we're working backwards. On A, which one of these is the starting value? 200. So put an SV underneath it. 200 is your starting value. What's the other word for starting value? Okay, good. Right here, this 0.93. This is your final answer, 0.93. We've got to work backwards. So let's look at some of these before. So here is my final answer. If we're working backwards, what number was always here? A 1. And it's already disappeared. So we need to figure out what was happening there. So what you want to do is type in your calculator 0.93 minus 1. 0.93 minus 1. What are you getting? So that means it's going down by what percent? What is that as a percent, though? What's 0.07 as a percent? 7%. So it's going down by 7%. So 0.07 is 7%. So this time we're going backwards. We're working backwards. Okay? On B, Ethan G, what's my starting value? 750 is my starting value. Okay, I'm going to take 1.15 and subtract 1 in my calculator. Some of y'all can do it in your head. 1.15 minus 1. What do you get? Is it positive or negative? So that means this one's going up. And what is 0.15 as a percent? 15%. Okay. All right, Zaria, what is the 6,000? Chuck, help her out. What's the 6,000? Starting value. Okay. Monica, what do I have to do with this number? 1.04. Subtract 1. 1.04 subtract 1. Daniel, what do you get when you subtract 1? So is it going up or going down? By 4%. Okay. This next one, Gracie, what's the 30? Dylan, what do I have to do with the 0.85? Subtract 1. So to get the percentage, you have to subtract 1. What do you get when you subtract 1? So that means it's going down. And what is 0.15 as a percent, Dylan? Here's 0.15. Move it 2 places back. So that is 15%. 15%. Okay, E is kind of weird. Anybody, what's the 25? Starting value. Does this have a decimal in it? No, so we don't need to use our calculator. What does it mean to times by 3? What's a word that means to times by 3? What word? What one word means to multiply by 3? Starts with a T. Give me a T. Give me an R. Give me an I. Triple. All right, so this one triples. This one triples. It doesn't have a percent. This one just triples because it's times them by 3. Yep, write down the word triples. All right, so for these next ones, you know 8 is the starting value. Andrea, what do you have to do with 0.71? To get the percent, what do you have to do with 0.71? Yeah, type it in your calculator and subtract 1. What you got? All right, is it going up or going down? Down, and what is 0.29 as a percent? 29%. 29%. G, 100 is my starting value. Jesse, what do I have to do with 1.5? What does that give you? 1.5, take away 1. Is it positive or negative? So it's going up. What is 0.5, Jesse, as a percent? How many times do you move it? It's 50%. 50%. On H, 50 is your starting value. And Gracie, what do I have to do with 0.11? So you get a negative answer. And Ethan G, what do you get? 89%. Okay. All right, we're going to do more practice problems on Monday with this, so you'll get used to it more. Let's do a couple word problems, and we'll be done with notes. The change of a quantity after x years can be modeled by the function y equals 200.96 to the x, which describes how the quantity changes each year. Okay. Andrew, what do I need to do with that 0.96? And what do I do with it in my calculator? I type in 0.96. What else? Minus 1. So 200 is my starting value, so I don't have to do anything with it, but I'm going to type in 0.96 minus 1. Everybody do that. Type it in. What are we getting, a positive or a negative? A negative, which means it's going down. And what else are you getting? What number? What is that as a percent? 4%. Okay, so let's see. Andrea, read A and tell me if it's true or false. Because it said growing. It's not growing. Haley, read B and tell me if it's true or false. Dylan, read C and tell me if it's true or false. So true or false? So D is your answer. It's decreasing by 4%. Number 10, the function P of T equals 52, 1.025 models the population growth of a town and thousands of people T years after 2010, which best describes the population growth. Zaria, what is the 52? Your what? Starting value. Guys, which answers can I mark out about the starting value? Which answers are wrong with the starting value? B and D. Why? Because they say 2011, and what year did it start in? 2010. Started in 2010. So you can mark out B and D because they say 2011. Okay? All right. Monica, what do I have to do with this 1.025? So do that. Subtract 1. And tell me what you're getting. Negative what? And how many places do you move it? 2. So you get 2.5%. So that one is C. Okay. All right. What does the value of 2 represent in the following function? Y equals 60, 2 to the x, where x is the time in years. Gracie, does this function start at 2? No. What's the starting value up there? 60. Okay, so you can mark out A. Ethan G, this says the function increases by 2 each year. If something increases by 2, is that constant or exponential? Constant. Guys, is this constant or exponential? Which one is it? What kind of rule is this? Exponential or linear? Exponential, so it can't be B. Chuck, C, the function increases by 2% each year. What do you think? What would you have to do with 2%? Did they do that? Nope. The function doubles each year. What does doubles mean? Times 2. What does parentheses mean? Multiply by 2. Do those match? Yes. So the answer is D. Okay. All right. Oyo.